Right to our second big story now, looking at the Niger Delta and the promise of peace. Now, the neglect of the Niger Delta region, despite years of oil exploration and profit from oil sales, gave rise to the emergence of many militant groups who carried arms against the government, demanding fundamental development in the region and their share of the proceeds of oil exploration.
Now, these groups have claimed responsibility for the destruction of many oil installations and pipelines in the region, and their activities has cost the nation billions of dollars in revenue generation. And past governments have tried to put an end to militancy in the oil-rich Niger Delta region through dialogue and other means, but recorded no success.
Now, let's reel out more information on that. The creation of the Niger Delta Ministry, the Niger Delta Development Commission, also known as the NDDC, and the introduction of the amnesty program by late President Umar Musa Yar'Adua in 2009, when militants agreed to put down their arms, were all measures taken by the federal government to bring lasting peace. The program, meant to end within 2 years after the militants were rehabilitated and integrated, has now entered the 8th year since its introduction, and still the problem of the region remains.
Let's take a look at some moves by the government to bring peace to the restive region. In 2015, the federal government allocated the sum of 36 billion naira as allowances for transformed ex-Niger Delta militants under the amnesty program. The amnesty program in 2016 got 20 billion naira as a result of Nigeria's economic struggles. Now, the huge leap in allocation for the program, as revealed in the proposed 2017 budget, shows that government's readiness to resolve the issues, and the amnesty program is ex-Niger Delta militants under the amnesty program. The amnesty program in 2016 got 20 billion naira as a result of Nigeria's economic struggles. Now, the huge leap in allocation for the program, as revealed in the proposed 2017 budget, shows that government's readiness to resolve the issues, and the amnesty program is to get 65 billion naira for the rehabilitation of repentant militants, and Niger Delta Ministry 33 billion naira, and the Niger Delta Development Commission 61 billion naira.
Now, let's listen to President Muhammadu Buhari during his 2017 budget presentation and his plans for the region.
We will continue our engagement with the communities in the Niger Delta to ensure that there is minimum disruption to oil production. The National Assembly, state and local governments, traditional rulers, civil society organizations, and oil companies must also do their part in this engagement. We must all come together to ensure peace reigns in the Niger Delta.
All right, we're joined now by a Niger Delta activist. He is the publisher of Ijan News, and he is also the coordinator of Nigeria Without Borders, Presido Gomorai. It's good to see you this morning.
Morning,
and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Right, you just heard the president there. He said, first of all, I like to take this from the Niger Delta, from the eye of the Niger Delta. Yes. He said that traditional rulers, states, civil society organizations, communities all have roles to play. Yes. Now, let's leave out what the government is supposed to do that didn't do. This time around, let's start it from the eye of the Niger Delta. What can they really do to say, well, there has to be peace in the Niger Delta, and then let us see how we can make ourselves prosperous?
One, there must be sincerity of purpose, and we must tolerate ourselves. And the government should, this time around, open its ear to the leaders of the Niger Delta. We have leaders, and there are leaders. But the truth is this, in any circumstances, some persons will have that privilege. What we're saying is, on our part, we must tolerate, because you don't expect government to be perfect. These are things, tolerance, and we must be sincere with our agenda. Because the media particularly has been used to run down most leaders from the Niger Delta, which is unfortunate. I can't say I'm a leader in Niger Delta, but at my age, I'm over 60. I know what happened and what led to whatever you are seeing on ground. The government on its own part too must be sincere in tackling. The idea of encouraging 2-3 persons to go and do should stop. Let government, like we did to Abuja, let government to be committed in releasing and then going on ground. I give you a very sorry sight. I come from a particular community where there's only one bank. Now you know what the influence of bank in the business environment. Only one bank. And it's so all over Niger Delta. Apart from the state capitals and probably Warri and Ughelli, all other communities are completely denied of anything called civilization. And that's why you see the youth of recent time are thinking that there is social change, so they have to fight back. Some of us, we are not that we are lazy, we thought by crying out. If I tell you I started the Joy News, the first tabloid in the South, when we saw the truth, because I was born in the North, grew up in the North. I'm more familiar with the North. My first visit home, I was shocked to find out that you don't even have water. You go to the river to fetch water. Where you defecate, the same place you see cups floating, you only push the cups away and take the water. That's how our people are living. So awareness gradually came in, and things are, the government should be sincere, and our leaders too should address issue frontally.
When you say government should be sincere, there was this meeting on the 1st of November between the president himself and some leaders of the Niger Delta. Would you still say that government doesn't seem to be sincere, especially looking at the 16-point shopping list that these people, you know, went to the president with? Of course, recently President Buhari said, you know, that his administration was working hard to persuade the leadership of the Niger Delta to agree on, you know, how to manage the oil resources instead of resorting to fighting. So what do you make of all of this?
You see, I started by saying the government has to be sincere. That tells you that there's this element of government using the people against the people.
How?
Just after that meeting, we had another meeting where a set of youths again and leaders again met with the vice president. Are you not aware of that? Then you see there's a divided home already, and we are human beings. If I'm leading a team, and tomorrow you invite another group again to come back and discuss something else, it tells you that there is insincerity. If government is sincere, those agendas listed out, you added 16. Key ones, I just mentioned banking. If the oil companies relocate to the locations where they're operating, what will happen? The banks too will relocate there. And if you have banks, I mentioned communities, I won't mention the banks. But I tell you, I operate to a particular bank. It doesn't exist in Ughelli. I come from Patani. I need to be in Warri to operate in my bank. And it's like traveling. Meanwhile, I live in the Abeokuta Expressway. You have my bank operates in a different location, about 8, and that axis. So you see, you have these people who now want facilities and they're not getting it, like education. And then the next thing again, you see the media too is not playing a good role. What they do is they pick on one individual. I'll mention that case. They'll pick on Alhaji Asare having a university outside Nigeria. We know Nigerians who own universities outside the country. So many. From other tribes, but they pick on, once it's Niger Delta, they use it as a good example. You want to rubbish our people.
Well, but the point there is, let's look at this very critically. But let's look at this very critically. Okay. Like the case you just mentioned now, for instance. When you come out and say, our people lack this, our people lack that, and you are ready to destroy government property, you're ready to even kill, if possible, if need be, to protect your people, and you have resources enough to be able to set up any kind of investment or anywhere, and you take it outside, won't other people see you as hypocritical when that kind of case arises?
You're not looking at it holistically.
Okay, let
me give you do they even have the funds to meet the demands of the institutions? They don't.
Okay.
What do we have in other parts of the country? We have public institutions. Why not set up public institutions that will now meet up our... Look, the private universities outside our areas, we can't even meet them in there. So where he gets his money? We know of the private universities in the Southwest. They are mostly in Lagos because the people can afford to meet the demands. Those who can afford. But when you put one in our creek, not minding the cost of even keeping the lecturers there, who will come and pay for school fees? Look at even the Maritime University that was, I think it's God's intervention. Conceived idea and somebody negotiated to buy a property, convert it to a maritime university that we don't have in the country. Maritime is not aviation. Yet, people from that part of Nigeria moved against it. So it's like they know we have our weakness. So what do we do in Nigeria? The government, when I say sincerity, they go into our own brothers, our own leaders, and use them against our leaders. So all the time it's just like the crab. You keep the crab in the basket. You open the basket. They keep pulling themselves down. That's just what
Do you think that is what this government is doing?
If the government is sincere,
that had this meeting, hold on, the youth that had this meeting with the vice president.
Not the youth, only leaders.
Well, especially the youth. They were said not to be part of this original meeting that happened on the 1st of November. Isn't that a way of having them be part of this process too?
It's the leaders that really determines and takes the pace. You carry the youth along. You can't ask youth to come and hold a meeting for people at my age and the youth go to I'm not saying I should be the one, but we're thinking we have people. I can mention 10 names that featured in that meeting, and they are credible people who had made impact socially, physically, spiritually in Niger Delta. You can't just pick some persons who are also agitating to become one person. I never once contest an office. But I think we need to make our contributions through the appropriate quarters.
Now, in this kind of situation where credible leaders, you said you can mention 10.
Yes.
And there were so many of those leaders who
attended that meeting.
Yes. At the time of even attending that meeting, we had people in the Niger Delta who were saying, no, we don't like...
They're not our representatives.
They're not representing us. If we have that kind of situation, don't you think Niger Deltans need to go back? Because if there is room where anybody can take advantage of us, anybody can come and use this against this, that is the undoing of the Niger Delta, don't you think so?
No, I just told you, I said, if I'm not involved, does not mean people who went there are not credible. And you don't forget, it's not only Niger Delta, it's a typical situation in Africa. Once you are not getting it, you condemn it. That attitude must drop. That's why I said we have to tolerate ourselves. That's the fault of our people.
How do you think that is impacting...
Come again?
Yeah, how do you think that is impacting negatively on the Niger Delta getting what it
And that's why
really
the outside world just believe that we are not organized. We are disorganized.
But maybe that's true.
It's just like the Southeasterners. Today, everybody sees Carlo. I think it's Carlo also. Is detained. Courts have granted him bail, yet the government of the day refused to. How many of our people from the East have come out to say, look, rather they want to condemn him. But you see, gradually people are seeing the facts. You see the play out of government today. People from a particular section of the country are not seen as progressive. So you are denied. Even see the offices. Today, if you see anybody, key persons talking on behalf of Nigeria, you know a particular section of the country comes out.
But do you agree with the president when he says that there are no quick fixes to the Niger Delta problem?
There are no quick fixes, but there should be some monumental activities that will show that they are committed. Like one, very vital, let the oil companies all relocate to the oil producing communities. With that, you show that the people will now know that there is this element of sincerity in government agenda. Otherwise, almost, I won't mention the names, they are all based in Lagos, and the company law, except they change it. Company law says you pay your company tax where you have your headquarters. So what they do is they will go by helicopters to your rig, your location, on Monday. On Friday, you take off again back to your communities. What do they do? The oil workers abuse our daughters. In the history side, you go there, you see, I even have one, a Chinese look-alike. Only God knows how. Because they come operate.
What do you mean abuse? They marry them?
They don't. If they marry them, it would have been better. We'll see our children, our daughters in China, in Japan. It's abuse. They abuse them. Use money to, because you know now, oil workers are always loaded. It's unfortunate. And then you look at employment rates. Let's be honest.
Okay.
Employments are conducted where you have headquarters.
All right, President.
Yes.
Right, if you're just joining us, you're watching TVC Breakfast, and we are discussing finding lasting peace in the Niger Delta. That's what we're talking about right now. We have in the studio Presido Gomorai. He is the publisher of Ijon News and the coordinator of Nigeria Without Borders. He's also a Niger Delta activist, and he's been in this for a long period of time. Now, Presido, when it comes to what the Niger Delta is entitled to, a lot of people have a lot of Nigerians have different views as to why are they so pampered when you have a ministry dedicated to them, when you have NDDC doing this for them, when you have 13% derivation already, the agitation are not to the right people and all of that. Now, can you make us understand, in all of these agencies and institutions of government set aside for Niger Delta, over the years, how impactful have they been in lifting Niger Delta to where it's supposed to be?
Sincerely, except we want to be funny,
Which won't be.
We won't be. We must appreciate the fact that they've done so much,
Right.
but not good enough to appreciate, to make the people go down in their agitation. They've done so much. Considering the fact that, don't forget, it's a Nigerian factor. Every day I was shocked. I saw figures we are reeling out. We will have asked those who operate those commissions, agencies, ministries, do they actually get so much money that we are being told, the public is being told? No. Even the amnesty program. As I speak, I know the role we play to pacify. For some of them, they think we have been, they've settled us, so we are always, no. We're thinking that we need to really address issues. I even pity the coordinator and special advisor to Mr. President of Niger, General Boro. I pity him. They keep calling us every day and abusing him. Meanwhile, he's trying to pacify the situation. Government must be sincere. If you say 10 naira is due to this, we'll give the 10 naira out. That's the truth. A good number of the agitators, ex-agitators, are supposed to be on a particular stipend. They are being held about 5 months now. And you see, the presidency will come and tell you there's so much, and they will use some of us who are in the media to tell them they are releasing this much before this. Meanwhile, nothing is done. The truth is, it's not only peculiar to Niger Delta. Yeah, you see, there's this Yoruba adage I use. I'm not a Yoruba man, but you say, "Mama kpe aja lobo fun wa." Aja is aja, obo is obo. Meaning obo is monkey, aja is aja. What the government does is they call dog monkey. It's not fair. Okay. We must be sincere.
The dog should be a dog, a monkey should be a monkey.
Yes, and the moment the citizenry finds that you are telling the truth and what you have said is what is reflected, they will reconsider and say, look, things are not easy. So let's have.
So would you appreciate Mr. President when he says he wants to get to the root of why the Niger Delta problem has persisted over the years, in spite of all the measures, whether palliative or otherwise, that have been put in place, you know, all these years? Yes. He needs to do that, doesn't he?
Yes, the truth is this. I just said it's sincerity. Mr. President, with all due respect and regard we have for him, we know his antecedents. He cannot tell us he's just forgetting to know about Niger Delta. He was once in charge of NNPC, he was once in charge of petroleum. And then he will have done this now. So the truth is this, we're not being sincere to the people of Niger Delta. Simple. And particularly the media. I just have got involved.
You keep putting it at the doorstep of the media.
Because they're not giving the truth.
Exactly how is the media involved?
I'm shocked that you even
you said they're not. You said they're not telling the truth.
True picture outside.
What is the true picture?
Look at what happened some couple of days back in the southern Kaduna.
Southern Kaduna.
Before the media gives you a figure of 808 dead bodies, we saw pictures on social network. People massacred. But the media have been silent. It's only the social network and some few persons have been highlighting it. In the case of Niger Delta, I give a case. I was in the program, I said it. I'm very sorry, but the truth must be told. There is a traditional religious leader who had problem with the chief of army staff. And we had the court granted him so much money. How many million? To go in the next 48 days or so. They must build him a home because he's unlawfully detained. Do you know how many Niger Deltans have been killed innocently? How many in the process of Navy having shootout within themselves, just not shooting, no, training, they kill our people. You just go to Niger Delta, it's militarized. We get to some part of that area where you go into some villages, you get to an area, you answer up as a captive. You answer for the next 1 hour. You treat us as if we are third class, fourth class citizens.
So going forward, this is a new year, and hopefully government is looking at how to...
say he doesn't know because he has been in charge of petroleum.
Okay, so now let's assume the president does not know.
He should not
what are the sustainable, the immediate and sustainable solutions?
Even if they are criminals,
going forward,
go back to those leaders who had started this agenda. The leaders are known. Unfortunately, the likes of Oronto Douglas has passed away. They are there. Identify them. I don't need to. I mentioned somebody like Tiko Goriba. You go to look at the Ogoni issue. You cannot tell me you don't know about the DMT.
When you keep talking about government engaging with the leaders, let's assume government needed to engage with the Southeast or even the Southwest. Does government need to deal with the leaders or already knows what these people need and so just provides those things?
You know the leaders and you know what the people need. That's where they know what the people need. They're not asking for everything. The oil companies relocate to this. Then if I am doing cleaner work for the oil company, they pay me. I am sustained.
But there are instances
today, oil companies are all, headquarters are outside the location.
Yes.
They fly in, abuse. I just gave you a good example. Abuse our daughters. abuse our boys. They even encourage the boys to go into criminality. How? They empower them to fight against themselves.
We also hear of times where youths also hold companies to ransom, tell them to pay certain monies before the equipment will get to, and all of that. So when you have situations
because you are
like...
not putting the right pegs on the right steps, so the boys will go extra mile to get something.
So-
I cannot
so-
live in an
so when
environment. I see the goodies that make this country. I give you an example. You have Shagari Estate, Gowon Estate, Satellite Town, Festac Town. If you had built one in Amabulu, I mentioned names of places you have not been to. That these are the places that produce oil. Nothing to show, not even health centers. And you ask people, how do you survive? By the will of God. It's unfortunate. It's not. I'm not talking about worry. Again, I'm talking about Pretorbeni. I'm talking communities where you get to, you'll be shocked and amazed that you come from this is part of Nigeria. I don't even believe the census. People who do census go to those communities to even count the people. That's why we're shocked when they say minorities. For the average 10 persons in Lagos, 4 are from Niger Delta. If you count,
that's very arguable anyway.
Yes, arguable, but I don't have a right to.
No, it's all right. It's okay. But when you have a situation where the Niger Deltans are complaining, just like you said, and the oil company, they come, they abuse their daughters, they do all of those, and then the companies themselves also have complaints. Sometimes youths come, hold them to ransom, sometimes even kidnap their children and so on, and sometimes also blow up pipelines, sabotage deliberately. Now, when you have that kind of situation, you against us against you, would you blame the companies for leaving the Niger Delta?
You blame the companies, because if you have a platform that is ideally an open-minded operating, the people themselves will rise against the criminal culture people there. That's criminality. For me to fight criminality, I must see a committed group I'm fighting for. We're human beings. We're human beings.
All right, Prosido Gomorai, coordinator, Nigeria in the eyes of the South. Thank you so much for being part of the show. But of course, the president has said for peace and development to happen within the Niger Delta, the leaders have a lot of role.
And government, not only the government in particular, not the leaders, the government.
Okay,
everyone has a role to play.
You look at
President,
thank you.
Thank you so much.